This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going in the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my God!
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Tuesday night is trucking night on SimSpeed TV. You are watching round 5 of the Pro Truck Showdown Season 4. We are at the magnificent Autodromo de José Carlos Pace in Brazil, the magnificent Interlagos circuit, which is another classic venue that this series has visited in most of its seasons. And wow, we have certainly got a full set of 3 sprint races tonight that will certainly turn up the action. There's big straights, heavy braking zones, a bunch of hairpins in the middle of the lap where drivers can send one up the inside, and many angry drivers looking to stake their claim for a round win. Can anyone catch Brenton Hobson in the lead of the championship? My name's Reese Gardner, and Cameron Dance is taking the night off tonight, so I am joined by Jake Sperry in the second commentary slot. Jake, your first round of Pro Truck Showdown, and I reckon this is a pretty good circuit for an introduction to the series.
It's a pretty good circuit in general here, Reese. You take a look at the Autodromo José Carlos Pace, and you take a look at 4.31 kilometers, 15 turns, and quite frankly, the most iconic track out there in the or I would say the Latin American continent right now, because you just get every single aspect of a racetrack together. You get overtaking opportunities, you get tight and twisty sections, you get long straights and high-speed corners, you get everything around this place. And the one thing that everyone knows more than anything else is that almost every corner around this track is a place to try and make a pass, and that's something that is very seldom said about track design these days.
Absolutely. Interlagos has been around for 81 years now, and it's been providing fantastic racing for the majority of that time. The current configuration of the circuit dating from 1999, and 91 was when the configuration was first built, but the pit entry dating from 1999. You've got the hard braking zone into 1 and 2, the center S, then into Descida do Lago, turn 4, the hairpins in the middle of the lap, Pinheirino, and turns 8 and 10, and then the heavy braking zone into Junção, the last proper corner on the circuit. But in most cars, I'd say that was true, but Jake, we're racing Lucas Oil Off-Road Pro 2 trucks here with very high center of gravity. And that final corner, Subida dos Boxes, the sweeping left at the end of the lap, is an actual challenge in these things. You've really got to be careful around this track as we look at Brenton Hobson making his way around his qualifying lap.
Yeah, and this is the key as well. This is only 6 minutes worth of qualifying. You only get one flying lap available, which is on heading up the hill. You can see just how much lean and roll is in these vehicles as he tries to keep the car as centered as possible up the rise there and down the hill once again. You can see the car is just trying to throw itself away and roll itself over at every single opportunity, but you have to be as planted as you possibly can, relying on the grip, relying on the shocks that are available into the Bico de Pato. This is a very interesting run from Brenton Hobson. There's a reason why he leads the championship, and that's because a Pro 2 truck is, well, a Hobbo's best friend.
Absolutely is. He's taken by far the most wins this season, and he might have lost the championship to his teammate Glenn Postlethwaite last season, but he has put on a fantastic challenge for this championship. He leads by 12 points over Justin Howe and Ben Snell with some great results at last round Barcelona, rocketing up to 4th in the standings, but he's not here tonight, so he's going to be missing out on a few championship points. There is one drop round for this season, though, so drivers get another chance there. Brenton Hobson going straight to the top of the timesheets, 1 minute 51.5. Justin Howe 5/10 behind him. So I think that's secured it there for Brenton Hobson. He knows how to wheel these trucks around. Philip Howe in the number 96, Justin Howe's father. They've raced in the vast majority of rounds of this series, and a 52.8 there for Philip Howe. That's put him ahead of Dwayne Preece and Todd Maxfield. Still waiting on some more drivers to come across the line. Sam Stride setting a 53.1. That slots him in ahead of Dwayne Preece into 8th place. Damien Westbrook and Ryan Jones have yet to set lap times as Lockie Dalton crosses the line setting a 52.1, and that puts him into 5th place in the standings. But looks like Westbrook and Jones will be the only drivers not to set lap times in this session. So they're going to be working their way up, hopefully, in that first race, which is very short. We've only got a 5-lapper for the first race of the night.
Yeah, not much time at all. But of course, you have to say as well here, Reese, as the grid does come up, they only get 1 lap, and Westbrook and Jones got caught out. And so it looks like it's plain sailing for qualifying at the front.
Indeed it is. So Brenton Hobson puts it on pole position, but Mitch McLeod sneaking up there into 2nd place right in the dying moments. The only other driver to set a lap time in the 51s. Then you got Howe and Favell, very close times between them. It's going to be a very tightly contested second row as Lockie Dalton and Daniel Stevens line up on row 3. Daniel Stevens is currently 3rd in the championship. Starting in 7th is going to be Sam Devantier. Alongside him, Philip Howe. Then we got Sam Stride, Dwayne Preece, and Todd Maxfield, the last drivers to set times. And Damien Westbrook and Ryan Jones will be taking 12th and 13th positions here. Only 13 trucks, but grid size isn't everything. This series always putting on some very fantastic fights. And Jake, I think we're going to be seeing quite a bit of drafting going on down the front straight and the back straight up to Desida del Lago.
Yeah, and this is going to be a key circuit in terms of sectors 1 and 3. You get that fantastic section where you can go out there and make passes, and then that middle sector becomes very, very difficult. Of course, it is a 5-lap feature, followed up by what is a 7-lap race that will come up straight after. So a lot of work to be done as they try and figure out exactly where they need to be here in this one. Of course, this is going to be all about track position to work things out, at least in the early goings. You've got no guarantees, you've got no friends as you make that push towards the center S, and that center S descends down the hill, makes life very difficult to get yourself all sorted out. You've got to be very alert onto who's on your left, right, in front, and behind.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of drivers dealing with all 3 of those permutations in the braking zone, as long as there's not a pile-up in the first couple of corners. It's a short run to turn 1 and a very short braking zone. These trucks actually quite good on the brakes around this place, so there's going to be an awful lot of big sends into those tight corners. 50 seconds to go on the grid timer. Brenton Hobson has yet to take to the grid. It seems that he is the only driver not to get onto the starting grid yet. We should be expecting him on there pretty soon, but all of the other drivers, their tyres are going to be getting colder and colder as they wait for Hobbo to take his slot on the grid. There he is. The timer hits 0. And the revs are going to rise. Pro Truck Showdown, round 5 at Interlagos. Here we go. The green flag flies and we are away. It's a good initial jump there from Brenton Hobson. Mitchell McLeod gets the power down nicely as well, but he's going to get challenged by Justin Howe into the first turn as there's an awful lot of weaving in the midfield. The top 3 enter the corner, line astern. Gregory Favell just getting it done there on Daniel Stevens and Lockie Dalton. Dalton just getting ahead of Stevens, but there's a bit of contact between them coming into turn 3. Stevens with the inside line through the Curva do Sol, and a lot of drivers taking to the runoff area, seeing Preece, Westbrook and Maxfield all taking those places. Ryan Jones already up into 10th place at the end of this lap as there's more contact between Dalton and Stevens. Dalton has to take to the runoff area, and oh my goodness, Sam Devantier really getting stuck in.
He really wants up through, and this mid-pack really looking feisty right now. Dalton and Devantier side by side, and the back end kicking up, going up to Ferradura there for Devantier on the outside. So Dalton with that inside line looking more able to get this one nicely sorted. Lunge to the inside, it nicely works out, and this is why the middle sector gets difficult, because you can make a tap like that as you go through and try and get through. You can give a bit as much as you take. Spinner in the background though, 2 in trouble. Maxfield there and Dwayne Preece, I believe, got a little turn in the mix of that, but it's front four at the moment at this juncture at this time. So as they work to the junction corner, look at that. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and all the road being taken.
Absolutely. Mitchell McLeod really pushing as hard as he can to try and get the win here on Brenton Hobson. This is the first round that Mitchell McLeod has done this season, so he really wants to make his mark, but he's going to have the draft here from Mr. Justin Howe. You see from the view behind that the bump draft is certainly on. Let's see if Howie pulls a move into the first turn here. Looks like he might just back out of it. Let's see if he pulls out. McLeod's going to pull out on Hobson and go for a run here at the lead of the race. Sideways into turn 1. Hobbo gives him room. Tiny bit of a tap, and Hobbo forced wide. That's going to allow Justin Howe in the mix here for second place, and Gregory Favell is being brought right into it as well for the top 4. Have well and truly broken away from the rest of the field. If they continue battling like this, Daniel Stevens is going to come back into contention, but Justin Howe into second for now.
Some people ask how, I say that's how. He gets that one done. Hobson coming straight back at Esquina Largo there as the talking car that leads this race. One Mitchell McLeod really having to scrap and fight for it. Back up the hill they will look again, and they'll be careful about how much they fight at the front, because they've got Daniel Stevens trying to bridge a gap to the escape group, you could say at this moment. Back down the inside goes Hobbo. No arguments about that. Gets very aggressive, and look at that line as he tries to get it at the end of Ferradura straight through, and we're almost 3 wide, and we get 2 little bites or nips behind there from, I believe that is Hobson going through, as that was Howe, looking to go for the race lead and very nearly taking it. Now we've got 5 to the front, and look at the defensive effort. That is a push to pass if ever I saw one.
Absolutely, but McLeod with the better traction around the outside of the hairpin, and Hobbo being allowed back up the inside of Justin Howe coming into Junsao, and this is bringing the mid-pack right into it. These guys all slowing each other up, so let's see what happens then. Justin Howe trying his best here to get second place back from Brenton Hobson. And Gregory Favell is going to have to watch out because he's got Stevens right behind him as Justin Howe taking to the grass out of Subida dos Boxes, as there is the move for the lead again. Brenton Hobson trying to get this lead back from Mitchell McLeod. He's got the inside. He is ahead in the braking zone as, yeah, we're almost 3 wide behind. Stevens almost having a look at Howe and Favell there, but Hobbo slopping back through into the lead. Let's see if Justin Howe can get the move done on McLeod for second. He just about did it.
Well, at this rate here, Reese, if you look at the battle for the race lead, it's soon just going to be the word yes, because almost everyone right now is involved. You've got a bit of side-by-side here. Favell having to fight it out now here with Stevens as they go to the Ski Largo here on the 3rd lap of 5. This is the halfway lap of the race. Heavy on the brakes, sliding a bit sideways going through. This is going to open Lockie Dalton up to the inside to try and procure the place in the number 8 machine, and it will do so. Lockie getting the move nicely, almost done. Contact to quarter panels as they go up through. Dalton ultimately understeers because of it, and goodbye 1 place, goodbye maybe 2, as the run to the inside now of that next stripe becomes another key contention.
Yeah, Sam Devantier trying his best to involve himself in this battle here. Sam Stride is getting into it as well. This is very close racing all throughout the field. Brenton Hobson hasn't quite held on to that race lead, as Favell had a little bit of a lock-up, getting sent back into the pursuing pack of Stevens, Dalton, Devantier, and Stride, as Stridey trying up the inside of the number 99. All the way to the runoff area goes Sam Devantier. Let's see if he can hold on to that. Looks like Stridey just straightening it up as all. There's contact behind. Damien Westbrook making contact with Philip Howe there.
That was more Howe having himself a little bit of worries because he goes into the corner. Westbrook can't slow it, and then ultimately it's not a case of being as happy as Mr. Triple Double Man there for Westbrook, because he knows that Philip Howe will not be best pleased with that sort of hit. That was one where you can't really react to that sort of thing. On for the lead though once again. Once more it is going to be an attempt to try and cut the corner short. Very nearly Justin Howe running into Mitch McLeod, who's trying everything to open up exit against Brenton Hobson, who knows how to pilot these sorts of vehicles magnificently. Now looking to the inside, looking to make this one a reality. And well, can McLeod get it done? I'm sure Hobbo doesn't really have any choice in the matter here. Position change once again. Now it's McLeod with the lead and Howe jumping to second.
Yeah, Howe took advantage of that move that McLeod did on Hobson. Hobbo ran wide, and now it's side by side between Hobson and Howe, between McLeod and Howe, sorry, as up the inside into Ferradura they both go, and Hobson sees an opportunity there. The door opened, and he absolutely ran through it, did Hobbo in the number 88, and that is the lead secured once again as they fire their way down into the Mergulo turn, but they still have the pack behind, looking to try and take advantage of any mistake they make. Favella's done a good job, actually, of holding on versus Stevens, and having a look up the inside of Howe, just banging his right rear quarter there on the way into the hairpin, and Hobson now wants to try and extend this because it's going to be white flag for them this time by sideways for McLeod and Howe coming into the Juntsau corner. Let's see if Favell can take advantage.
Well, the key here onto this final lap is going to be how they get by Brenton Hobson, because we've seen he leave half a sniff open. He's going to jump in like a whippet and make sure that he's going to get things going. There's Barney the flagman waving that white flag so very, very vigorously as they go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 drivers all fighting for the race lead. And I'd say it's going to be any one of them right now as wide goes Howe from third position. Suddenly there's going to be a bit of contact with Favell, and then all of a sudden it was 2 fighting for the race lead.
Yeah, Howe caught the grass on the entry into the center S, and that sent him wide in turn 1. Let's see if Favell can take advantage of this. He has a look up the inside. And Daniel Stevens a little bit later on the turn in. Lockie Dalton trying to take advantage around the outside, extends the exit, but Stevens getting the traction and getting it done once again. Let's see if Favell can snatch third place from Justin Howe, because McLeod and Hobson have absolutely run away from it at the front. Howe, meanwhile, seems to have gotten it sorted. He is putting on a great defensive drive here to try and keep that podium position. Remember, they are racing for grid position as well. They will start the next race in the order in which they finish the race. So if Favell can snatch an extra position, that will work out into a much better grid position for him going forward. Devantier has fallen off the back of this pack, meanwhile, as Stridey has just extended the gap there to him. Working out very nicely between those guys, but Hobson, have a look at McLeod using all of the runoff area to try and get some extra speed through Juntsau, but that hasn't worked out for him, and Hobson is just going to skip away here in the lead. They are single file coming up through Subida dos Boxes, and Brenton Hobson once again showing why he is the man to beat in this series. It is going to be the race win for him. Mitchell McLeod, though, going to start in second once more, but it was a valiant fight from him for the lead, as Daniel Stevens just getting Lockie Dalton there at the end.
Yeah, a lot of audible cheers from the drivers. They get themselves over to the finish there. The top 10 split by 5.5 seconds as they cross the line, which is an incredible turn of cadence from everyone as they've gone through. A lot of difficult battling there in terms of that one, but really, Reese, what you can say is that's a big result for Hobbo.
Absolutely is, and with Justin Howe finishing down in third, that's going to be some extra championship points in the lead there for Brenton Hobson, and the way you're seeing them lining up here is the way they are going to line up for the second race. We've got 2 more laps here to deal with, then we've got a 5-minute warm-up, and then the final 9-lap race, so there's plenty of time here to get yourself up the order and into a good position. Philip Howe, the sole retirement from that race.
Sole retirement, but one that he knows he can't afford to do too much. Of course, a shortened gridding time here for this second race. Everybody just waiting to get themselves prepared once more. They'll wait for one more, and I think we're ready.
Yep, we are indeed. Everyone's on the grid. The revs will rise once again. Let's see if McLeod can get a leg up on Brenton Hobson off at the start. We are away. But Hobson, once again, with a better start, and that is a lightning start from Justin Howe. Hobbo sees him coming and covers the inside, coming into turn 1, and leads the way into the center S, as it's a big crush in the midfield. Bunch of drivers running side by side. Stevens just getting by Favell in turn 2. We'll see if he can hold on to that. Slightly tighter line for Favell, which means he will get a little bit of a disadvantage through the turn, but he still has overlap on Stevens coming into the Biga de Pato corner. Goodness me. Incredible stuff here. It's Descida de Largo. I keep getting my corner names confused as Favell getting the exit. Beautiful line there from Favell, but Stevens still alongside him. That battle for 4th place is really something, as Justin Howe is challenging Brenton Hobson for the lead. Gets into the runoff area though, which allows Mitchell McLeod alongside him, and this is pretty much a repeat of what we were seeing in race 1.
Absolutely it was, and now you're starting to see how difficult it is. A bit of sliding behind as well from Stevens in 4th place, but the more they go side by side, the more they're going to allow Hobbo 88 to break away, pick up 2 as they go on through. So it's getting very dicey now as Justin Howe is having to defend here from Dan Stevens, but you've also got Devantier there and I believe Strider all in this one as well. Ryan Jones now will have an angle to the inside, trying to pick it off, but they now start to clatter into each other behind as they go through. That was a very straight line from Damien Westbrook there through to that Junsao corner, the junction corner. Maxfield nowhere to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And Westbrook is known to be quite an aggressive breakup in this series as Jones manages to move ahead of Devantier just up ahead, but so let's see the challenge from Todd Maxfield versus Damien Westbrook. That's for 10th place, side by side into the first turn. Westbrook kicks out the rear end and Maxfield has to go wide there, and that allows Dwayne Priest through on the inside of the corner as well. So that is 2 positions lost there for Todd Maxfield. Just up ahead, Sam Stride is attempting a move on Gregory Favell. See them very close coming into Descida de Largo. Big lock-up from Daniel Stevens just up ahead as he tried for a move on Justin Howe. That has allowed Lockie Dalton back through and into 4th place for him as the top 3 now breaking away once again.
It's as easy as that when they break away here. This is such a tough track to stay in range of because of the fact you've got 2 very nice drafting zones through the opening sector and the 3rd sector. So now you've got to be alert to that. The middle sectors where all the time is won and lost, and if you don't get it done before here, you're in Troubl&E. I can do my spelling bees as we go and have another little look. All of this for Gregory Favell caused by turn 2 of the center S because of the fact that he was a little bit narrow going over that section, maybe to the tune of slowdown and penalty.
Yeah, perhaps. He might have taken a bit too much curb there. So he's fallen back a bit from Daniel Stevens, but if he can nail the throttle application out of Junsao, then he might be able to have a run coming into the first turn once again, as Mitchell McLeod has run wide off Junsao and allowed Justin Howe through into 2nd place. Let's see how this works out for them coming into the braking zone. Will we see a banzai move up the inside from Mitch in the number 40? He has a look, but lifts off. They remain line astern coming into the first turn as Ryan Jones still trying to defend from Sam Devantier. He gets a bit crossed up there with Sam Stride ahead.
I was looking at the race lead there. They very nearly made contact there, Hobson and Howe, as they went on through. McLeod was over the radio going up through the Skinner Dos boxes going, come on, Howie, let's go. We can have Hobbo here, and then we're going to be in a really nice position for that 3rd race. Here comes Justin Howe then, lap 3, down the inside, looking to pick this one off. It's nice and clean, but are you going to leave yourself open for the up and the under? You knit one, but you know what? Hobbo knows how to pearl one, and he gets one straight back.
Absolutely. It was a bit of oversteer there for Justin Howe and losing traction over the curb that allowed Hobbo back through. And there's some more dicing for position between Favell, Stride, Jones and Devantier. Contact between Stride and Favell. Gregory trying his best to defend around the outside here, and it looks like he's managed to get it done. Stride had to back off in the middle of the corner, but Devantier runs wide through Mogulo, which allows Jones a little bit of a sight there to a position, but once again, the outside line seems to be the one with the advantage at most of these corners. It can allow you to get on the throttle a little bit better, keep the steering wheel a bit straighter, and get a better exit, more contact for the lead. Howe just gave Hobbo a tap, and have a look at who's involved himself in the lead battle now. Lockie Dalton on a massive charge right up the back of Mitchell McLeod here.
Absolutely he is, and he's seeing all of this going on in front. The door opened for Justin Howe as he looks to try and search for a way through. Hobbo giving him a lot of space, and McLeod now getting a run, and this is where you're getting that toe. Look at this, NASCAR tactics. We're bump drafting here into turn number one. This is fantastic stuff as they figure it out. Still, Hobbo tries to fight on the outside. It's 3 versus 1 as he goes through turn 2, and now through the Curva de Sol. It looks like Howe is still going to have to fight this one all the way down to that lakeside corner.
Absolutely, but McLeod is the one they're going to have to watch out for here. He gets in the draft of Howe and gives him a good old bump to move him a bit further ahead of Brenton Hobson. Side by side for the lead. Once again, we're on lap 4 of 7 here, and Howe just getting the overlap and moving ahead of Hobbo into the race lead. Mitchell McLeod getting a lovely exit as well, but he's going to be stymied there by Hobbo on the inside of Ferradura. How wide is McLeod going to go here? Very wide in Ferradura, so just slots back into line. And there's going to be no big moves in the top 4 in these hairpins. Unless you can get up the inside a fair way before the braking zone, there's not much you can do. So this battling is allowing Daniel Stevens and Gregory Favell to get onto the back of this battle once again.
Oh, and the door half ajar as Stevens and Favell working hard to try and get themselves in. You could say that the train goes all the way back to Westbrook there in P10 as they figure out what are they going to do over the next remaining 3 laps of this race. It's Howe up the hill, who's pushed a little bit too far there, going up at Gunsau, and McLeod very nearly following. So a freebie going through, and Lockie Dalton's deciding, you know what, it's 3 wide time as they go through Hockey Van Cadas, and they're going to go door to door, mirror to mirror, and hold it together. Eat your heart out, everyone who has ever sim raced.
Goodness me, this is fantastic racing. McLeod is just ahead coming into the braking zone, and they're going to be 3 wide coming into turn 1. Howe just slots in behind the 2 of them as it's oversteer for McLeod. Stevens takes advantage of the door being open, tries to get through into 4th place, but Lockie Dalton getting those positions done up into 2nd. Fantastic drive.
Yeah, it's incredible. Lockie Dalton absolutely flying at the moment. Here comes Justin Howe looking to get one back on Dan Stevens. He's had the chance. He's almost in the grass trying to pick this one up. Has he got it all sorted down on the inside? Hi, honey, from behind. That is Gregory Favell looking to get a little bit close for comfort, and that's going to cost him a place then, as diving through Sam Strider getting himself a nice little move done.
Yeah, Stridey now up there into 6th place there. Good stuff for Sam, but he's going to have to keep an eye out for Favell and Devantia. Devantia making contact with Favell coming into the right-hander. Nearly bumped him into Stridey as well, but oh well, that's going to sort things out for the time being. But Lockie Dalton is really turning up the dial at the moment, coming towards the back of Brenton Hobson. Potential move there for him, as I just saw some contact in the background. Damian Westbrook giving Ryan Jones a little bit of a tap, but he's far behind now. Jones doesn't have to worry about him.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about it. Maybe again is the words that we're hearing from the director as we keep our eyes very focused on these runs up the hill. Looks like Stridey's done another good job here of picking up Dan Stevens. Look at the run he's getting as he tries to charge through. The top 3 are looking quite nice, but it's side by side, of course, back there for 5th and 6th place. And Stridey's got the nose at this moment and the inside into 1, but he doesn't have the draft on the straight from Mitch McLeod. Little search for the race lead on the inside as they go through. Big slides in the middle. Suddenly, once again, it's just like last time. 3 at the front and everyone else is chasing.
Absolutely, and we've only got 2 laps to go here. Stride's actually getting a good run on Justin Howe through Curva do Sol, so this could potentially be a move for 4th as Lockie Dalton gets up the inside of Brenton Hobson. at the Cedar de Largo. Contact, and Hobson sent wide. Mitchell McLeod is going to try and take advantage of this, get up into second, but now Lockie Dalton to the lead of the race. This has been a great drive from Lockie, but he's going to have to put on all of his defensive experience here as Hobbo tries up the inside of McLeod once again into Ferradura. Goodness me, very close racing up here at the front. And if Hobbo, oh, goodness me, just avoided turning Dalton around there, which has allowed McLeod to get up the inside once again. And they're going to slow each other up here and let Lockie Dalton skip away.
Oh, you can't go for a move like that if you're Brenton Hobson. You're not Paper Mario. You're not going to get that chance to go through a gap that doesn't exist. And now, all of a sudden, they've alerted themselves in the 2 quickest by qualifying times, McLeod and Hobson, to having to stay with the driver who started P6 overall in this race, Lockie Dalton. And he is now going to have to defend hard here because he wants a bit of help. Justin Howe would be quite nice. Stridey, Stevens, Favel would also be all nice as they try and figure everything out. This is tough for the lead, and 2 tyres in the grass. Hobbo is searching on that outside in the Synergy Sim Racing machine, and there goes the talking car, deciding, do I want to push or do I want to decide to make this one side by side? We start the last lap going 3 wide for the race lead.
Oh, and Hobson getting into the grass. McLeod getting past Dalton in the meantime on the inside into turn 1. So Dalton then back into third as Sam Stride getting into the grass out of turn 2. And that's brought him way off the battle for the lead. But Justin Howe is starting to put himself in the mix again as Stevens moves up for a move on the inside of Sam Stride. Brenton Hobson going to try and take this win again as there's a move just behind. Dalton having to go wide and allow Justin Howe through. Or will he? Very narrow on the run up to Ferradura. Not much space to be fitting trucks side by side, but McLeod is holding on to this. And it's all about getting these final hairpins right. Using as much of the curb as they can. Another tap for Brenton Hobson on Mitch McLeod. Oh, big tap behind Justin Howe, trying to get by Lockie Dalton and secure third place again, but Dalton, with the outside exit, moves on ahead. And there's single file coming into the hairpin at Pico de Pato. Only a couple of turns to go now for Mitch McLeod, and he will have this race win secured. It's a pretty good run here for McLeod on his return to the series. He tips it in to the Junção corner and gets a lovely exit across the curb, and I think that may be all she wrote unless Hobbo can get in the draft and get alongside him across the line. A bit more curb usage from Brenton Hobson here. But is it going to be enough? Is it going to be enough? McLeod is going to have to let Hobbo go around the outside here as Hobbo gets into the wall, and I think that's what's done it for him. If he didn't get into the wall, he might have just had a run at the win.
He's Brenton Hobson coming over the line. He's going to have driven it straight into the fence. What am I doing? As they all cross with a wonderful finish there. Some brilliant moves going on all throughout that race. And this is just a testament to how great this series is. How you can have 13 drivers out there, which by most standards you would say is a small, relatively sized grid. And they're putting on spectacles far greater than what we have seen so many times in fields. Maybe twice, even 3 times its size.
Absolutely. Great series this, the Pro Truck Showdown, as these are the results. Only .053 between McLeod and Hobson at the end of it. Dalton getting on the podium with Howe in 4th. This is not going to be good for his 2nd place in the championship. Sam Stride rounds out the top 5. Stevens, Favel, Devantier, Jones and Westbrook rounding out the top 10. And coming home in 11th was Dwayne Priest. Philip Howe and Todd Maxfield coming home 15 seconds back. All drivers finishing the race, which is really good to see. Well then, time for the 5-minute warm-up session between the 2 final races tonight. The drivers will get 5 minutes just to have a chill, have a run around, maybe do a bit of drifting while they're at it. But for us at SimSpeed TV, it's going to be stepping aside briefly. You're watching the Pro Truck Showdown thanks to Scumander Coffee Mug and Hot Toddy's heating installs.
Hey everyone, the USF 2000 is a blast to drive now, and here's your chance to learn it quickly. From my tutorial, VRS created a free bonus track guide for the Laguna Seca circuit, where you can learn exactly what I do in every corner to improve your lap times and get faster on track. You'll learn how to easily recognise brake markers, you'll find out which curves to attack and which ones to avoid, you'll know when to use the full track and when a sequence of corners requires a compromise, and you'll learn how hard to brake and when to lift. The VRS quick reference track maps are available free to download and delivered each week to your inbox. The entire Global MX-5 series is available, as well as bonus maps like this one and many more. So if you're a new racer, or a veteran, or just anyone who wants to learn how to get faster sooner, the VRS track guides are for you. Just hit the link or button on screen and get yours today.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going in the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Section's very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Here on SimSpeed TV, you're watching the Pro Truck Showdown, Season 4, Round 4 from the insane Interlagos circuit in Brazil. Some fantastic virtual racing we've seen so far tonight, and man, I mean, Jake, that second race is what this series is all about. The entire field was pretty close. There were some big moves happening at the front and in the midfield. But the cream rising to the top once again, Brenton Hobson and Mitchell McLeod with a win apiece so far.
A win apiece and a second apiece as well. You've got to keep that in mind. They are deadlocked in terms of the way that they've been running all night long. And the work that they are putting in is going to be very, very interesting now for this third race, because we've seen how everyone's been trying to throw a name in the hat. You've got to be calm and patient. You can pick up moves one at a time because they're just battling so hard. They're costing each other 2 seconds a lap with how much they're having to defend and attack.
Yes, indeed. You battle as hard as you do in these trucks and you end up losing a lot of time, and that's what allowed Lockie Dalton to put himself in the mix for the race lead, ending up getting third at the end of race 2, and that means he's going to start third for this third and final race. We've had 5 laps, we've had 7 laps, and now we go to 9 laps. This is the quote-unquote endurance section of the night, but the race is still going to fly by in an instant.
Endurance, I think, here is going to be a very choice word to use right now, because we've seen after 5 laps it was frantic, after 7 laps it was sensational, now after 9 laps are we going to get something that's absolutely legendary as warm-up expires.
5 minutes is up, and then we'll get to the gridding period for race 3. Big thanks to Scumander Coffee Mug and Hot Toddy's Heating Installs for your support of this series. Certainly bringing a great bit of exposure to our round sponsors tonight with the racing that we've had. Here is the grid for the final race of the night. Mitchell McLeod is going to start on pole for the first time tonight. Brenton Hobson starting alongside him on the front row. It's Dalton and Howe on row 2, with Sam Stride starting alongside Daniel Stevens on row 3. Gregory Favell starting in 7th. Devantia, Jones, Westbrook, Priest, and Howe lining up in the top 12, and Todd Maxfield taking up the final grid spot here with only 26 seconds left on the clock, and it's going to go straight to 0 if we get another one of our competitors onto the grid in time, but looks like they're going to try and stretch it out as much as they possibly can here, as we got 10 seconds to go. There is the final grid spot taken up by Dwayne Priest. Away we go then. Race 3 of the Pro Truck Showdown, round 4 at Interlagos is go. And that is once again a really good start from our top two. Dalton's put down the power very nicely as well, but Howe's going to get a run at him up the inside. It's a good start from Daniel Stevens. He moves ahead of Sam Stride coming into the first turn as they clatter together for first, second, third and fourth. Oh, goodness me. Justin Howe sent airborne by Lockie Dalton. Moving up into third then is Lockie, and Justin Howe has lost a great bit of time there in the first couple of turns. Daniel Stevens is going to have a run at him coming into turn 4. Ryan Jones protecting behind from Gregory Favell as Mitchell McLeod defending the lead from Brenton Hobson. He goes wide. Hobson trying to get the up and under, but it doesn't work out for him. Getting sent wide there is Justin Howe and Gregory Favell.
Well, that was a very, very good effort there from Hobson. Got a great launch off at the start, took the race lead, but ultimately into 4. It's very difficult to stop that move from becoming a reality. Still more side by side, a little bit further down. Now it's a case here of who wants in and who wants there. Got Westbrook there with Devantier there and Favell side by side trying to work it out, both in the hot toddies machines as they try and work out where they need to be placed. They charge back up the hill towards that Duckspill corner, the Bico de Pato out there on track. And really, you can see, oh my goodness, almost a spin.
Yeah, Damian Westbrook there with some contact from behind with Philip Howe, Todd Maxfield and Dwayne Priest all together. They all come together, and Dwayne Priest trying to protect the inside as Maxfield was sent straight into the runoff area. Howe just gets into him, and goodness me, completely cutting the inside of the corner there was Todd Maxfield, and he's going to enter sideways back onto the circuit. It's all on at the back.
That was a line, I think is the right way to say that. I'm not sure how much of a line it was, but it was definitely a line of sorts. As the lead battle continues again, here comes Hobbo looking for the inside at the start of the second lap, and he'll comfortably dispatch of place. But it's not over and done with yet. In the background as well, Ryan Jones going for place here, trying to get by Sam Stridey, and a little bit opportunistic from Devantier trying to get through. He was trying to sneak his nose up where it didn't belong.
Oh dear, there's a problem there for Philip Howe and Dwayne Priest. It looks like they might have come together at the first turn, but we don't have time to take a look at that because Mitchell McLeod up the inside of Brenton Hobson once again for the lead of the race. Hobbo sent off into the runoff area, gets a good line back onto the circuit, but McLeod is going to be ahead just by a whisker as well. So Hobbo's going to have to stay behind for the next couple of corners, maybe try a move into one of the hairpins, but we know how powerful the outside line is around here.
Oh, it's so strong, and you've seen it time and time again. A little look from fourth, and this is where you're starting to see it all continue to close up. Mitchell McLeod's strategy has been box everybody in, get as many as you can fighting. If they all come together and have the big one, I'm scampering off home with a little smile. Look at how they concertina up through the Bico de Pato. That is all down to McLeod struggling to get anything through the mid part of any corner.
Yeah, McLeod really slowed them up there, and it was Howe into Dalton into Hobson, but they've spaced themselves out a bit, the top three, as now we're seeing Ryan Jones going for a move on Daniel Stevens. There's the replay of what happened at the first turn. We see Maxfield. No, sorry. Yeah, I think that is Maxfield. Oh, goodness me. Getting massively turned around, and Dwayne Priest with barely anywhere to go in the midst of that. Very intense racing at the back as Stevens has just moved ahead of Jones in the braking zone. He's going to try and defend here. Gets the power down nicely. And Jones is just going to have to slot in behind. But Ryan is really coming on strong at the end of the night.
He certainly is, but he can't afford to get too much eyes bigger than the belly at this moment for him in the number 11. He knows behind you got Stridey and Devantier who will want to go back through right over to the right-hand side. You will not have a lane, sir, as you go into the next left of course, the Skida de Largo. And this is the issues that you start to find in this sort of race. You start battling amongst each other, and it all gets a little bit dicey and awkward as you try and go through. So now keep doing what you're doing. Please let ourselves not battle at this moment. We need to get back to that lead group if we want a chance of victory right now with Mitchell McLeod just doing a quiet job at this moment in time. Howe and Dalton chasing, and now more side by side. We've got some Noah's Ark sim racing to Y2D.
We are indeed. Stevens and Jones side by side, and Stevens just moving ahead of Ryan. in the midst of the left-hander as you go through the dip. A little bit of extra grip there on the inside, but Jones is going to have to defend here from Stride and Devantia. Devantia getting up the inside of Stride, and Jones having to take to the curb and the grass as he tries to make it 3 wide here. Goodness me. Very close quarters on the run up to Junsao. But Jones gets on the brakes nicely. Sam Stride gives him room. And they're going to be side by side again on the run down the start-finish straight for the lead. Looks like McLeod has enough of a gap over Hobson to keep it up into the braking zone. He is going to go defensive, though, as we continue to look at Jones and Stride here. But Hobson to the outside for the first turn. A bit later on the brakes, sweeping around the outside and potentially taking the race lead, but he slowed up a bit too much in the mid-corner, which keeps Mitch McLeod in the fight, and he gets it done around the outside. Hobbo's exit compromise, that allows Lockie Dalton through into second place, but not without a bit of contact.
Speak about opportunistic, forces him off the road there. Brenton Hobson has to try and find a way back on, just enough room given to get back on. And now look at McLeod immediately trying to give Hobson a bit of draft here as he goes through. Dalton was so patient, waiting for those two up front to tangle, try and put it into their own hands, and he will try and pounce. He's got one of the jobs done, but not the second. And Justin Howe's trying to figure a way through. Quarter panel contact once again there for the 8. Trying to get through as the double 8, the 88. Wants to snip one back up the inside, and he'll get it as well with contact, as now with tempo he will try and attack here against one Mitch McLeod.
Daniel Stevens, meanwhile, losing a spot to Sam Devantia at turn 4, but he's kept himself ahead of the pursuing pack of Stride, Favell, Jones and Westbrook. The 3 running at the back, Maxfield, Priest and Howe, giving each other quite a bit of space. Maxfield all on his lonesome at the moment as the lead continues to be under threat. There's Sam Stride attempting to get by Daniel Stevens, and now Ryan Jones trying to get one up the inside of Gregory Favell, but he's not going to be alongside in time. Westbrook once again firing it into the braking zones, nearly collecting Jones. Very aggressive driving in the midfield. They want every position they can get, but it's going to be on for the lead once again. Can Hobbo slot to the inside of McLeod? Yes, he can, and he's got the momentum of the draft with him. Let's see how this goes for them into turn 1. McLeod is going to fight it massively. On the brakes, pretty even between the two of them, but Hobbo slotting through into the race lead, and now Justin Howe, a bit of contact. Mitchell McLeod just not giving up that inside spot, and now Howe has lost quite a bit of momentum. That could potentially allow Lockie Dalton through at turn 4, as Westbrook is by Jones.
He certainly is. So Westbrook making great strides to pick up moves here, and Ryan Jones is going to have to work out which way he wants to go. Oh, cut the nose off, why don't we, as we hit the brakes into the left of 4, and again a bump to the back. Ryan not too pleased with the way that move's happened, and well, when it seems that it rains, it pours between these two, because they don't seem to be quite on the friendliest of terms at this moment in time. It's worth noting as well that a lot of work's had to be done by Justin Howe over the course of this lap to close that gap back down, with Lockie Dalton just behind. And you'd say at this moment your focus is trying to keep Hobbo out of position 1, where he is by far the best natural leader in this field.
Indeed he is, but he hasn't had to deal with Mitchell McLeod for the first 3 rounds of this season. Now that McLeod is in the mix, you can see that it's being made very tough for Brenton Hobson to try and hold on to this. Let's see how they go into Junsao, using all of the curb and then some on the exit. You can use that curb on the entry without getting an off-track 1X, and every driver using it to its maximum. There's a bit more space between our leaders now, but that just means more draft space for McLeod to line up a run into turn 1. The draft is on to the inside. Hobbo will stick. He's going to put it right in the middle of the road, actually, and McLeod, well, he thought about going to the inside, but Hobbo covering him off at the last second into turn 1 for the the 6th lap of 9. Still thought it was 7 laps for a second there, but Hobbo holding on to the race lead and actually getting a good run out of turn 2. And we'll see if he can try and skip away here.
Big difference maker there for one Mr. Mitchell McLeod, going through 1 and 2 on that lap was that, one, he was wide, secondly, he couldn't maximise the track because the car on the outside of him in the form of Howe. So that was the issue for Vel, getting a little bit noisy over the radio as he has to defend into that next section. His struggles coming in the form of side-by-side with Jones, and then that little bit of contact they go through. All's fair play in love and war, and they'll continue up the hill here all the way to the Horseshoe Bend, Ferradura.
They will indeed. Favel is up the inside. Westbrook firing it in once again and gives Jones a little bit of a tap. He's going to move past him into the braking zone. Jones is going to try and fight it as much as he possibly can, but Westbrook slotting ahead there. So taking advantage of the battle between Favel and Jones there. Gregory Favel had a very good run last round at Barcelona, but he's not quite where he needs to be for this one. Fallen off the wagon slightly. There's Brenton Hobson continuing to hold on to the race lead here, and that gap that he was afforded thanks to Mitchell McLeod slowing up slightly has allowed him a little bit of breathing room, crucial breathing room, as we'll come up to enter the last 3 laps of this race.
I don't think McLeod's too bothered at this moment in time. Yes, it's half a second right now, 6/10 there or thereabouts, but it gives him room to go out and attack the opening couple corners, use the next section of track to go and try and make that move. It seems silly to say this, but when you put these things on road, these are very draft-centric, and Justin Howe was having a half thought about whether he should have gone for that one or not into turn number 1. No dice. Big work being done by Devantier, though, who started in 8th position overall. He did a 52.4 on that last lap, was the fastest of anybody in the field.
Yeah, great run from Devantier at the moment as Hobson, you see in the distance there, going defensive versus McLeod trying to break the draft. The top 3 now bumper to bumper as Devantier tries to get a leg up on Lockie Dalton here, and they can't afford to get in each other's way too much because they'll lose touch with the top 3 again, and both of them want to put their mark on the series with a win. Dalton, of course, taking a win last season, finally visiting the winner's circle, but that seems a bit far away for him at the moment. He'll be hoping that Hobson, McLeod and Howe come together at some point, but these guys all racing very cleanly up at the front. Meanwhile, Ryan Jones getting up the inside of Westbrook, attempting a move there, but no dice once again, and they are racing incredibly hard with each other. They've actually lost touch with Gregory Favel.
Yeah, tells you all you need to know right now about how much they're trying to work on forward in this one. They're so absorbed in the one position, they're losing sight of that bigger picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All jumping their way through Junsao, all hoping they've got the run available underneath them that gives them a chance to attack. I don't mind this at the moment. Drivers being patient, waiting for the right time to strike, but what time will be the right time is the bigger question on the board. I think McLeod's saying right now it may just be go time.
Big draft from McLeod. He moves to the inside into turn 1, but Hobbo still just ahead. McLeod getting the rear end light off the ground, and Hobson holding on through turn 2. It's going to be slightly compromised on the exit though, so McLeod is going to get a very nice draft. Some good momentum being made up in the mid-corner of Curva do Sol as well, and straight to the inside, but Hobbo going defensive puts McLeod into the grass, and he is not willing to give up this lead at all. Justin Howe getting up the outside of McLeod, but that could potentially leave the door open to Lockie Dalton here. It indeed does. He challenges for 3rd and just moving ahead of our series administrator, but he's going to try up the inside into Ferradura. So is McLeod, having a big look at Brenton Hobson. Contact between our race leaders.
Big contact as they go through, and now it's about question marks. Another little lunge coming through from McLeod, and it's too wide, too deep here. 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Where do you go if you're Devantier there in 5th position? So now you've got work coming in, and look at this opportune up the inside there. I believe that's Lockie Dalton trying to go for that move. You're not going to cut it like that with the mustard, and they're all lunging for it. This is going to allow Hobson a chance now to re-establish that gap at the front of the field, and once more, 2 wide action. Dalton and Howe. Howe on the outside, Dalton through on the inside in 3rd position. Now you got a lap and a bit to go, and suddenly your heart rate is jumping up at 1,000,000 because you got a chance for your 2nd win, or maybe even your 1st of the night.
Indeed, McLeod though got a bit too squirrely on the exit of Junsao. He's lost some time there to Brenton Hobson, who was going to lead the way across the line, as it's going to be white flag for our competitors. Howe just leaving a bit of space open on the inside there for Sam Devantier, but Devantier not going for it. He is going to go for it at the first turn, though. Another slight look for McLeod. He gets sideways, pushes Hobson wide. Can Dalton take advantage? No, he cannot. As, McLeod almost sent into the wall there by Brenton Hobson. Compromise there for Mitchell McLeod. He manages to stay there, and oh my goodness, Sam Devantier having to check up as Lockie Dalton was slowed up in the process. Here we go, Hobson again going defensive into turn 4, leaves McLeod just a little bit less than a truck width on the inside, and there we go. Hobson turned around by Mitchell McLeod. He didn't quite leave him enough room on the outside, but at the same time, McLeod could have afforded to back out of that one, so Hobson, I believe, is not going to take the round win here tonight. As have a look at Devantier challenging for the lead versus Mitchell McLeod. Round the outside, coming into the hairpins as there's contact between Howe and Dalton behind. Howe getting a wheel off the ground. Have a look at this. Whoa, Devantier trying his best to defend from Lockie Dalton, get some space between them so he can have a run at Mitchell McLeod for the race win. This has been a fantastic drive from Sam Devantier. He's taken advantage of all the mistakes that people have made, and just bumped wide was Mitchell McLeod. More contact between our race leaders, but McLeod is going to be leading the way into Junsao. Is there going to be a last-minute lunge here from Sam Devantier? No, it's not going to be, but he's going to have the draft up the hill. Let's see if he can have a run here at the race win. The checkered flag is going to come out. Mitchell McLeod currently in the race lead, and there we go. A bit of contact once again. It looks like McLeod has done just enough here. He's going to defend madly versus Sam Devantier, and they're going to be bumper to bumper across the line. McLeod going to cross the line in first, but it's going to be tinged with regret after that incident with Brenton Hobson.
It's a real shame there the race ended the way it did. A very tough battle, and those points are going to be very hard to come by come the end of this one. Hobson finishing in P7 then in the end after all of that one. So a P6 plus 1 as he gets himself over the line. But what a race they all tried to put on. We'll catch it on the virtual racing school replay. This is just the difference between getting a nice tap and a nasty tap as you go through. You can see Hobson just about covers the lane on the inside. McLeod's trying to open up. And of course, because Hobson is unsettled going into the corner there, Reese, it means that he still opens up that rear right quarter panel for spinning.
Yeah, Mitchell McLeod turned into the corner as you would expect, but Hobson was still just a little bit alongside him. So that's what ended up losing Hobson the race win. And it seems, unless there's a black flag for McLeod somewhere down the line, the round win. McLeod with 2 wins tonight and a second. So all up, I think a good night of racing, but Sam Devantier challenging him towards the end. And after 2 8th places in the previous couple of races, Devantier, I think, can be very happy with that. Lockie Dalton getting onto the podium again, but Justin Howe, a 3rd place and 2 4ths. It's going to harm him a bit in his championship fight with Brenton Hobson.
Certainly is. And then you've got the likes of Sam Strider there in 5th position, Dan Stevens P6, Hobbo of course down in 7th, Gregory Favell, a P8 finish there for him with Damian Westbrook there in 9th, and Ryan Jones just a sultry top 10 finish then to round things off there. Looked like he had promised early on, didn't work. I'll just polish off the names for you here, Reese, while we're at it. Todd Maxfield, Dwayne Priest, and Philip Howe all there at the end. All 13 drivers through all 3 races finding finishes.
Indeed it was, and what a great round of the Pro Truck Showdown once again. This series just turns up the action dial at every opportunity, and we can't wait to bring you the next round next week. So once again, the track we're going to be at is going to be a surprise for the drivers. We don't know where we're going to be, going to take into account the brilliant racing that we've seen so far this season. Well, that's the time that we're going to say goodbye. Jake Sperry is going to be joining me, or I'm going to be joining him rather, for V8 Scops this weekend on Sunday. So We'll certainly be catching each other then, but a big thanks to Scumander Coffee Mug and Hot Toddy's Heating and Stores for your support of this series. This was the Pro Truck Showdown, round 4 from Interlagos, and Mitchell McLeod, it seems, has taken the round win.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going in the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my God!
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?